Fortune is like a flirt. She cares not for him who wants her, but she is at the feet of him who does not care for her. Money comes and showers itself upon who does not care for it. So does fame come in abundance, until it is a trouble and a burden. They always come to the master, whose life does not depend upon the little foolish things of the world. And so if you feel slept on, ignored, unrecognized by those little foolish people of the world, fuck them. Just get to work. Become the master.
Who the fuck won't work with me? Heart is out and I say that reluctantly, cause it should go without saying, but y'all playing dumb. Far as these rappers go, I'm not fearing none. Cold flow is cold in any genre with many combinations. Shoot like that boy sponsored by Under Armour. Read you a gunner, arms crossed and coughing like you was from Wakanda. God's favorite accumulated a ton of karma. As seen by me thumbing through green, I become a gardener. Pulling up in a supercharger, me and two things like a double entendre. Nigga won't beef from a number 9 combo. Not one designer in my ensemble. You're tuned to the realest, maybe they ever spill his heart until it's drained. Feel his pain, trust 16 ain't enough to do it justice. Just cop the fall off and he'll explain. Is it the end of the chapter? Happily ever after. Bet this gon' be the year that fulfill his reign, man.
Hi, my name is Thomas from the channel Internet Makeoder. I've been doing the Captain Sinbad coaching for around 3 months now. The biggest thing that I've got from the coaching is actually building out a full business backend for my YouTube channel. So I'm no longer having to rely on sponsorships to generate revenue for my channel. And just in these 3 months, simply from the things that we have built with the Captain Sinbad team, we've closed more than $21,000 in sales, which already just more than pays for the entire coaching. So it's been an absolute no-brainer investment. And obviously on top of that, learning from Nikhil's wisdom when it comes to my YouTube videos, I've been able to more than double my average views on my channel. And the thing is, with this coaching, you're not just working with Nikhil, you also work with his business partner Manoj, who's such a business genius that he will literally teach you to build a full business around your YouTube channel. So not only am I leveling up as a YouTuber with what I learned from Nikhil, I'm also leveling up as an entrepreneur and learning how to actually build a sustainable business with my YouTube channel. Already I've got so much more value than what I paid for. So yeah, absolutely, I would recommend it.
This is a video about how to glow up as a guy. It sounds a little bit superficial, or maybe a silly phrase to bring up, how to glow up, but I think it actually has some unexpected depth. To want to glow up sort of implies that you were slept on for a period of time. You were ignored. I definitely felt this way when I was in middle school. It was because I was overweight. I was like the tubby Indian boy. And then later on, it's because I really couldn't find my own standing with my career. One reason was because I let my parents convince me that making money as a creative, surviving as a creative, just wasn't there for the taking. And that, in combination with the fact that I really didn't form the habits I needed to become the man I wanted to be when I was younger. I would sleep in, sometimes I would drink too much. Really, sometimes I just wouldn't go hard enough at life. And I think a lot of guys relate to this, where you feel that your life hasn't really begun. Maybe because you believed the wrong things from other people, you took bad advice, or you self-sabotaged. You just didn't cultivate the right disciplines in yourself to be the kind of person you want to be. And so years go by and you arrive at a place where you're sort of behind in life. You sort of feel like nothing has really happened. And worst of all, you feel as if the world doesn't know who you are. You're still stuck in the shadows. When we're kids, we imagine that we're gonna be something great. And then as time goes by, you sort of get punched in the face by life. And you begin to let yourself believe that maybe being a main character wasn't for you. You were just sort of supposed to end up being ordinary, or at least that's how things landed for you. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. In fact, there's a lot there for the taking. Even if time has gone by, there's so much we can do to step into the spotlight of our own lives. And so here's everything I know about how to glow up as a guy. The first principle is revealing your leading man features. And that only happens when you cut down to 12% body fat or less. Now, this is a superficial point, and I realize that as I go on, the points go more from superficial to philosophical or weighty, but the superficial must be addressed because it actually has a lot of importance. A lot of guys have great looking features. They're handsome guys, but they don't have access to this because they're just not lean enough. And one thing I came to realize is that when you're lean, when you get to a very low body fat, you look different. Your face looks different. But a year and a half ago, I was at 27%. And I look like a completely different person in just a year and a half. I was training a lot for strength in this last year, putting on a little bit of size, and I never really prioritized getting down to a super lean body composition, which I'm doing now. And day by day, for anyone who's lost a decent amount of weight, you can sort of see you look like a completely different person. And so this might sound a little aggressive, but if you are not lean, if you're not 12% body fat, or perhaps even leaner, you honestly should make this perhaps the first priority of your life. It sounds imbalanced, but right now at this very moment in time is the easiest it is ever going to be for you to get as lean as possible. It's only going to get harder from here on out because you're only going to get older. So you might as well get going on the journey right now. What I'm doing to sort of cut weight in a very healthy way where I retain my muscle and look as good as possible is by tightening up my eating window. Basically, don't eat until you're hungry. There is some benefit in eating right after you work out, you know, the anabolic window, but I would argue it's pretty negligible. Instead, you should just prioritize on eating protein first, walking as many steps each day as possible. Now, I run at least 5 miles a day, which is probably overtraining, maybe giving my body the wrong signals about what it wants to do, because running too much does give an opposite effect as to building muscle. But if you walk that same amount, your appetite won't increase. And then you can suppress your appetite. So I might start feeling hungry around noon, but I can have sparkling water, coffee to blunt my appetite. And so if I do this, I can actually cut my eating window down a lot. I start eating at 2 or 3 p.m. I still make sure that I get a lot of protein in so that my body preserves its muscle. And then I keep up a regimen of strength training a couple times a week, hypertrophy training in between those sessions, sleeping as much as possible, drinking a gallon of water, and then keeping my calorie deficit anywhere from 200 to 800 calories a day, which is on certain days very aggressive. But the reason I start with this idea is because you really separate yourself from the pack when you just get lean. The average American man, as I was researching this video, I found out who's 20 to 29 years of age, his waistline is like 40 inches. The average American man who's 30 to 39 has a waistline of 39 inches. He's 5'9" and weighs 197 pounds, which means at least half the guys are over that. A lot of guys are overweight. This intel sounded almost not true. Like, are that many guys really overweight? But if I think about it, as I go about my life, for instance, this week, I went to the movies twice. I watched Operation Fortune, the new Guy Ritchie movie, and Creed 3. And pretty much every single dude who I was at the theater with, he was a little bit overweight. Some of them not too much, but some of them by quite a lot. Most guys aren't even as lean as me. Now, if you're watching this video, if you're on this side of YouTube, you probably prioritize your health a little bit. Maybe you're sitting at 15 to 18% body fat. Prioritize getting down to 12, man. I think it's genuinely worth it. The world treats you different when you're lean. I can say this, I was in Hawaii just a few weeks ago. I've never gotten so many stares in my life. It was crazy. I would like happen to make eye contact with a lady, maybe at the hotel I was staying at, and then they would just keep looking at me. It was absolutely bizarre. Maintaining something is a lot easier than working towards it. And so I strongly recommend, if you're not at 12%, literally just go monk mode until you cut down to 12% body fat. This means don't go on dates, don't take on any extra hobbies, just work the job, work the obligations that you need to, and then just focus on cutting. Strength train, go for walks, drink water, sleep, cook your own food, meal prep, track your calories, use a food scale. It's annoying, to be sure. It's not fun. But if you get lean and you get sexy, it'll change your fucking life, dude. The second idea I want to share with you is the literal glow, which comes down to hydrating, sleeping well, eating greens, and removing toxins. So the first priority here is to remove toxins. Don't eat any bullshit, okay? Don't eat processed foods. Don't drink alcohol. These days it takes a lot. It has to be a very, very special occasion for me to consume any alcohol at all, because it's hard to look your best when you don't live well, when you don't eat clean. This also goes for hydration, which most of us are dehydrated. Most people don't drink enough water. And then particularly sleeping enough and eating leafy greens. Now there's differing philosophies about whether greens are good for you. Someone like Paul Saladino, who I think is very credible in a lot of ways, he might argue that spinach or kale, they have oxalates in them. They have these compounds that are fighting against your body. So it's actually not good for you. It's actually a stress on your body. But I've always found when I eat leafy greens, my skin just looks radiant. My skin just looks great. And if we're going for the literal glow of just being attractive, being as attractive as possible, glowing up in the literal sense, then if you eat clean, and especially if you have dark leafy vegetables, I think you find that you end up looking your best. Spinach and other leafy greens are packed with a variety of nutrients that help improve the appearance of your skin. For example, vitamin A, which is an antioxidant that removes free radicals, vitamin C, which produces collagen, and vitamin K, which strengthens your blood vessel walls. All of this prevents wrinkling and just keeps your skin looking really radiant. The next aspect of the glow up comes down to presentation. Keep all your fucking shit as neat and tidy as possible. Keep your car clean, keep your house or your apartment clean, get consistent haircuts, unless you have like a man bun, in which case, still groom your hair, tweeze between your eyebrows, don't let there be a unibrow, and importantly, use an under eye cream. I used to really try to get myself to use a skincare regimen, and I still have one, but I found that the skincare regimen in general is sort of hard to stay consistent with, especially cleanser, moisturizer, serums, all this stuff. It's definitely good for you if you have the right products. It definitely makes a difference on your skin. But even that 15-20 minutes at night, it's a little bit of a time commitment. Sometimes at night you feel like zonking, you just end up passing out. So I have a hard time keeping up with the skincare regimen. But the most important one is the under eye cream, because that's the first place where aging really shows. Bags under the eyes, dark circles, wrinkling. The skin under here is very thin and very fragile. And so the under eye cream, like a good under eye cream, putting it on only takes like 20 seconds. And I found that I can get 80% of the results with just that simple application. But you will find yourself separating from the crowd if you just keep yourself clean and tidy. Keep your home environment clean, tidy, neat. All your stuff, keep it as neat as possible. Sometimes we get busy, so it's not always really possible, but you should do your best for this, because I found that when the environment is clean, you produce different thoughts. When your car is clean, you just end up thinking differently, and you end up having like really profound results on even the amount of creativity you have. You just move differently in the world when all your stuff is on point. And in contrast, the people who live at all with some degree of mess, they're not optimal. Like, they're not as put together, they're not as tidy as they could be. The next idea I want to share with you is that of presence. And if you watch a lot of like red pill content or some of these dating coaches, then a big thing that they say on like dates and stuff is that you should always be escalating. Basically, unless you're finger banging the girl and talking about sex on the first date, like you're not escalating enough, you're not creating enough sexual tension. That's like what they would argue. But really, I found that attraction, a big part of it, comes from presence. Now, one thing that will contribute to your presence is your presentation. So if you just look really on point all the time, it will really heighten your sense of presence. But then the other thing is accessing the knowledge inside yourself. Like, one thing I've come to really realize as I've gotten older is that we all have a lot of great insight. You yourself, right now in this very moment, you have insight that you just choose not to capitalize on because you sort of don't trust yourself. It's why we're always reading books or watching someone else's YouTube video. We don't trust our own insights. Or worse of all, we don't take the time to like go into our own insights and figure out how we feel about something, what our take on a certain topic is. When you make space for that in your life, which I found comes from reading. So yes, you read other people's work, but then also writing out your own thoughts, especially asking yourself questions. Ask yourself any question you want to at all and writing out your own feedback to it, your own responses to it. It will create a lot of presence. It'll help you realize that there is a philosophy that actually emanates from within you. And that's a huge aspect of the glow up. Knowing that you have insights to bring to the table, like you are your own thought leader on some degree because you had your own experiences or you have your intuition, you're connected to the universal subconscious in your own way. Like, you can trust your own thoughts. There's definitely like a masterpiece book inside you, and you don't always have to turn to like Andrew Huberman or Jordan Peterson to be told what to do. You can tell yourself what to do. And the third aspect of this that really taps you into everything else is meditation. Because I think meditation reveals your inner self to you. It reveals your higher nature, and it really helps you access some aspect of your creativity that is uniquely yours. Just like how your fucking jizz is uniquely yours, right? There's no one else has the DNA exactly like you. The same thing goes with like the way you think and your thoughts and the way you process the world. And when you bring that level of presence into your life through reading, writing, and meditation, you become very powerful. You become someone with a ton of presence. In fact, I would argue a big reason why maybe my YouTube scripts are getting better, at least I think they are, is because I'm scripting from my own internal knowledge more than ever. The next idea I want to share with you is perhaps the most important aspect of the glow up, and that's finding your next strategic move and fixating on it. So there's a quote from Swami Vivekananda, who is an ancient Indian sage, that I sometimes reflect on. I think it's deeply powerful. And he says this: "Fortune is like a flirt. She cares not for him who wants her, but she is at the feet of him who does not care for her. Money comes and showers itself upon who does not care for it. So does fame come in abundance until it is a trouble and a burden. They always come to the master. The slave never gets anything. The master is he who can live in spite of them, whose life does not depend on the little foolish things of the world." You see, a lot of the stuff that we go after in life is the little foolish things of the world. The fact that some girl didn't text you back, you didn't get some audition, you reached out to this recruiter on LinkedIn and they didn't give you what you wanted. I've found that it's really hard to not care about what other people think about you. It's really hard. But it also is the biggest symbol of your status in life, the symbol of your glow up, so to speak, is how much you don't care about what other people think and how much you are immersed in your own universe that you are like concocting, your own movie star timeline that you are crafting for yourself. But that comes from fixating on what you can do, what you can actually do. I found it's really hard to like heal from trauma, heal from a breakup, right? Like you have low self-esteem. If I have low self-esteem, what am I supposed to do about it? People would just be like, be confident, be yourself. Don't care what other people think about you. Don't care if this girl doesn't like you. You know, you really liked her, but you know, move on, king. You know, there's gonna be another one. Men are the prize. People say all sorts of things, but the execution of it is so removed from reality. I found that the main thing that has helped me be as glowed up as possible, be myself as possible, is to utterly fixate on my next strategic move. And the best periods of my life, I have done this indirectly. Your next strategic move is something that requires very little creativity, but it's the single bottleneck of your life right now. And if you solve that bottleneck, you would leap forward. Now, you want to move on to the biggest version of yourself. You know, maybe you want to be a millionaire or absolutely jacked and shredded or like date a really hot girl. I'm not sure what it is. A really hot guy. It turns out women watch my channel too. I keep forgetting. But your life's biggest bottleneck is probably several tiers lower and much simpler than that. Here's a good example of figuring out what your next strategic move should be. I didn't start making strategic moves with my life until I was 25. I suppose I didn't know any better. So the first bottleneck that I cleared up was getting a good remote job. At 25 years old, I made the decision that I was going to get a remote job that paid me a decent salary, something like $70,000 a year, without working too hard, without really grinding. Like if I got a position at Google or Amazon and worked in tech there, my salary would be great, but my hours would be really long. So I ended up deliberately seeking out a position where I'd make a solid salary, you know, $70,000 a year in 2019 was like a very solid salary for a young single guy. But at the same time, my hours weren't so crazy that I had no energy left for anything else. And so it took me until age 26 to get a position like that. And as I look back on that period of my life, I was fixated on getting that, you know, entry-level position with a good salary that was remote. And I realize now in retrospect, being much older, I had a lot of attraction from women in that era. I was also in a play that was very exciting. I was working on a short film. I was doing all these things, but almost 100% of my energy was fixated on how do I get a job that's gonna pay me 70 grand a year? Like, how am I gonna get this good, solid position? I'd be in the middle of this play and my character was like taking notes with a pen and paper. So I'd be journaling about learning Salesforce. I was like, okay, tonight I'm gonna study Salesforce. I'm gonna train for this next certification. I'm gonna do this trailhead. I would be more excited about learning, studying this CRM technology for 3 hours that weekend than literally anything else in my life. Literally like the hot girl with big boobs, like wanting to come fucking make out with me. I didn't care about that. All I cared about was getting that position, because unlocking that position, I felt like would be the catapult to the rest of my life. And it was 100% true. Like the day I got that position, I became a technical consultant for this company. There was so much struggle that I had until then. And then when I got that set up, everything became so much easier. And so if I would have pursued that position first before anything else, my life would really have pushed forward several years faster. And so whatever you are most interested in pursuing right now, whatever your biggest goal is, you probably have one bottleneck that if you just cleared that up first, everything else would become a lot easier. For instance, if you want attraction from women, right? If you just got lean, everything would become so much easier. I don't want to beat that horse to death, but it is true. Like in attraction, in like getting your foot in the door, game, money, ultimately status, these are all good things to have, or just having a personality that vibes with another human being and not playing this game of status between those two people. Obviously, that's fantastic as well. But if you're just trying to get your foot in the door in terms of dating and attraction, if you're not super lean yet, that is the bottleneck that you could just clear up to make your life so much easier. If you want to make solid moves as a creative, there's a bottleneck there you could clean up really fast that would get you to the next level. So actually, because this portion of the video is so important, I sort of made a list of things that I feel could be straight up fantastic strategic moves for you to make no matter where you're at. And I'm actually going to go over all of them right now. So one easy strategic move to make is to add a side hustle. For instance, when I was a teacher in Los Angeles, I was making $20 an hour. The first strategic move that I successfully executed was starting to tutor on the weekends. I would tutor for the SAT and ACT. And what that meant was I earned an extra $200 a week, $800 a month, $10,000 a year. On top of that, because I had to tutor every weekend morning from 9 a.m. to noon, I really couldn't drink on Friday nights like the rest of the teachers. So it ended up giving my life all these different forces that elevated me as a human being. And because I made an extra $10,000 a year where I added in that weekend side hustle, I had the money to buy my first camera, I had the money to get my first actor's headshots, and also to make a demo reel. And that led to so much progress. One could even argue that if I didn't start tutoring on the weekends, I might not have grown a YouTube channel by at least like 2 years faster, because I wouldn't have had the money for the camera. The next strategic move that I could think of was learning a skill that can pay off in 3 months. The thing about college or any like really long-term education program is that the payoff is a long ways away. A lot of times for a lot of people, the payoff is never. But really, you're one skill away from making enormous strides with your financial career. One of the reasons that my editor, Thomas, is able to charge a premium rate, he's worth every dollar and far more, is because he never stopped investing in his skills in editing. By the way, Thomas is still on the team. Thomas, if you're cool with it, if you can just show your face in the edit here, people would want to know. He just works remotely with me more often, but we're still friends. We still meet up once in a while, and he's still a part of the team for now. Learn digital marketing, Salesforce, how to grow on YouTube. If you've already got a little bit of momentum, maybe you could start learning real estate or how to scale your business. Honestly, there's so many tiny little skills that you could learn that'll unlock the next level of life for you. And really, it's a journaling session for you to figure out what skill could pay off in the next 3 months. Another fantastic strategic move is to join an organization. This could be a boxing club, a cinematography organization, acting classes, a rock climbing gym, even church or an ice bath sauna club, conferences that you could go to. I didn't realize this, but I sort of joined a new organization recently when I went on a trip to actually one of my subscribers' weddings. It was the first time I ever flew first class. I took a first class ticket to Sacramento. The ticket was only like $100 more, so I just said, okay, why not? I want to see what this is like. And I met 3 people who I could partner with. Like, people who sit in first class are actually a great networking opportunity. So I learned so much from like these rich, fit businessmen and others, and that first class seat really paid for itself. Moreover, I put up this story on Instagram of me being in the first class seat. It's not like I was trying to say like, oh, we're in first class, but you could just sort of tell because the seat was wider. And all these freaking girls, dude, who had like not been responding to me, like girls I'd sort of gone out with over the last few months, it was like 8 messages in a row. Like, oh my God, I would love to hang out with you next week. Like, girls care. Like, if you're a guy who travels and you travel well, I didn't realize this, but it's true. They'll respond to that. The next strategic move you can make is take the right coaching program. Now, I myself have taken 2 high-ticket coaching programs. One is from Lloyd, a single guy. He's like a relationship coach. I've still been in the thick of it, but even one single idea from him, honestly, one idea that had nothing to do with relationships or dating, I found very valuable. And the other program that I joined is Cloud Academy, which teaches you how to grow your video agency business. The final strategic move that I want to talk about here is hiring or delegation. So if you have a little bit of an income, hiring cleaners, fitness trainers, a chef, you have no idea how much time people think about grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning up the food afterwards, like meal prepping, off all this stuff. If you invested in a chef or a meal service program, that could actually like lead to breaking past an enormous plateau and getting to the next level of your life, or even hiring a videographer or photographer. A lot of stuff like this carries a ton of weight. And so this really is the heart of the glow up, because I found that when you think about the things you want directly, such as some girl you want to have text you back, some position you want, when you think about the thing you want directly, you're just miserable and you're not on top of your purpose. Like, what is your purpose even? But if you think about that tiny strategic move, and a good solid strategic move only exists for like 3 months out or 6 months out, you can find yourself thinking about it so well and with such excitement that all of your energy flows into that, and then other people, their energy flows into you. It's like that quote from Swami Vivekananda: the world wants the person who doesn't think about the world. All these other points are really valuable, like getting lean or eating well to have the glow on your face or presenting well. I won't say that isn't important. The superficial aspects are deeply important, now more than ever. But fixating on your strategic move really is the heart of the glow up. Now, the last point I want to mention very quickly is Instagram. And I will say, I think you've got to show off the glow up for the glow up to have existed. But you also somehow have to not care. So if you're going to be using social media, you have to use it to like demonstrate some quality that is emerging out of you innately, but you have to somehow not care. And sometimes I've struggled with this balance, but here are some rules I found that work well. 1, post infrequently, but do share your life online. Don't be like someone who's completely off social media. It makes sense also from a business perspective. I mean, I see Instagram as people's #1 portfolio, even more than your LinkedIn profile. People spend the most amount of time there while it still maintains like somewhat of a professional context. There have been people who have followed me on Instagram who I have followed back just because, like, no homo, just because some dude had like a good looking profile, like he looked good. I'm like, oh, who's this follower of mine who's like this handsome dude? I'll just go look into his thing. Then I might find out, oh, he trains really well. He can like do 90-pound weighted chin-ups. I think that's cool. He's a skydiver. He's a scuba diver. All these qualities. I'm like, oh, this is a great profile. He also has fantastic landscape photos. I've followed people back just by virtue of that. I know people have done the same for me, where they see my profile and they think like, this guy has got something going on, and so they'll connect with you. So the place to really house, almost like archive where the glow up is existing, I think is Instagram. It's a great place for that. But I will say you need to post from a place of authenticity, as if the work, the stuff you're sharing is bursting out of you, and you don't actually care who engages with it. You don't care if like someone's liking your story or not. You're just putting up the occasional dope story. And I think it's especially true if something is tangential to your next strategic move. Then you should maybe post that on Instagram if it feels like it makes sense. For me, the ultimate purpose of something like a glow up, even being interested in it, is because for many years of my life, I felt like I was slept on. Like I was waiting for like the next cutscene of my life to begin, and it never got started. And there was a time where I sort of felt like maybe I'm not really special, you know, like maybe my life was meant to be ordinary. Like sometimes you get caught up in these cycles where you think, damn, someone else really has it going on, I don't. But what I came to realize is a lot of that was me putting the brakes on my own life. And we all do that. You had some idea of who you wanted to be when you were 12 years old. If you're not that right now, like there's still time. You can choose. And that's been my biggest realization, I think, in the last year of my life. Because there's been a lot of suffering and effort and feeling stuck. It sounds funny to say, you know, outside looking in, a lot of people think, oh, Nikhil, he like is doing solidly well. A lot of people in my life probably feel that way about me. But, you know, there's been a lot of striving, and there's been a lot of just like punching in the mud, and I think that's going to continue. You know, it continues for everyone no matter what level they're at. But now, as I'm starting to get closer and closer to being the kind of person that I can genuinely be proud of, you get this innate quality, you get this innate sense that I had this idea of who I wanted to be when I was a young kid. You know, I wanted to be like Bruce Wayne, the kind of guy who just like wakes up in the morning, he does jumping jacks or something, or he like has the jump rope, he does push-ups, he just gets out of bed and starts doing push-ups. He's really divinely driven to save Gotham City. Whatever your version of that is, I think we all had this idea of who we wanted to be. And then somewhere along the lines, maybe we just got tired or we forgot. I've come to realize, like, you can be that guy. And there is still time. We can definitely be everything that we were supposed to be and be the kinds of people that, like, 8-year-old you or 12-year-old you would just think is awesome. Like, you could be a superhero to the 8-year-old version of yourself. And I think that's what I want people to aspire for. I think that's there for the taking. Let's not lose hope. Let's infuse faith into this whole thing and make something happen. And for those of us who do that, who commit to the glow up, both inside and out, to us I say greatness is coming.